we are already in the year, in the swing of things in this mayor's race, and there are a lot of candidates, but there are some things that have already come up, some issues that have already come up that I think remind Detroiters of the things that we still need a good leader to deal with. Malachi, talk just a little about the candidates themselves. We have 8 candidates who filed already for mayor. We haven't even gotten to the people who might run for council.
Yeah, let me see if I can rattle them all.
I was going to say, can we remember them all?
Well, Council President Mary Sheffield was one of the first seated in the race. She's been, at council since 2013, basically the entire Duggan administration. She's been serving in the council and has, kind of positioned her as somebody who's worked hand in hand on a lot of things, but also has been, pushing back, like you mentioned, when maybe it's appropriate. You also have Councilmember Fred Durhal. He's a former state legislator. He represents D7, and he's going to be getting involved in this race as well. You got Santil Jenkins, who's a former CEO of the nonprofit Thaw, Heating and Warmth Fund. She was also previously on the city council and served one term as the council president. Then you have Solomon Kinlock, Reverend. He leads Triumph Church, which is, I don't know, probably the largest.
One of the
church.
largest, if not the largest.
Yeah. And he had a very flashy is kind of the way people are describing. I don't really like that term, but he had a lot of people come out to his campaign announcement in mid-February, kind of filled the Fox Theater with his supporters, and so I think his entrance into the race really shakes up some things. You also have Joel Hashim, who's a businessman who's been involved. He actually started here in Detroit with a series of party stores and then became a wholesale distributor and joined trade delegations. He's kind of the most anti-corporate candidate that we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
Rogelio Landin is the latest person to get involved in the race. He's a former Democratic Party official. He's been involved in a lot of development issues in the city. He runs a kind of education technology company. He's on the Tenants' Rights Commission. He's been on several neighborhood advisory boards that negotiate benefits for these large development projects. So he's a pretty interesting figure to watch as well. And then we got Todd Perkins. He's an attorney who's represented a lot of lawmakers and political folks who have gotten in trouble over the years. We also have Jonathan Barlow, who will be making an announcement later on. I had the chance to meet with him, get to know him a little bit.
Remind me of when the filing deadline is?
It's in April.
It's in April.
Like mid-April.
Yeah. And that's when you have to have your stuff together and your signatures and your papers and stuff.
I want to just bring up a couple of things that I've been hearing from listeners, from readers, from people that have reached out to me about, what are the important things for them in this race? And there's been some kind of common themes. I mean, people talk about the next mayor should be able to work with the philanthropic community, should be able to work with the business communities, and needs to be kind of a unifying force. Duggan's talked about this too, the kind of politics of us versus them, in terms of race, in terms of suburbs versus the city. It is kind of in the rear view. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it seems to be a winning electoral strategy, the way he's presented it. He's given advice to candidates already saying, you have to be about unifying instead of dividing. I don't know. I think some of this support of the business community could be controversial again, because folks don't always feel that those partnerships have benefited them necessarily. People really want a leader with integrity, somebody who's going to stand on business, but also not run into controversy or scandal, who will represent the community well, right? And, a lot of this is also just keeping the momentum going, keeping the kind of development momentum growing. Nobody really has been an anti-Duggan candidate so far and said that I'm going to really do things differently. A lot of them are saying, I'm going to pick up the ball where he left off. We're going to make some changes in terms of maybe being more responsive to community needs and things like that. But overall, the general kind of plan of recruiting business down here and keeping that growth in the downtown seems to be, continued. I'm wondering who the education candidate is going to be in this. A lot of people are talking about the public schools, and there needs to be. It's again something Duggan talked about as he launched his mayoral campaign. And the literacy rates are too low. The high school preparedness is too low. Mm-hmm. This balance of, are the charter schools serving kids? Is the school system, the public school system serving kids? What can the mayor even do in that? Because they're kind of limited in their authority with the school system. But education is such an important piece of this whole conversation as well. And then who's really just going to be responsive? Who's going to listen to the community when they have concerns about some of the big projects that are coming in the next years, with the rent center, I-375, on and on. We could probably list 10 more. are they going to be receptive to community? Are people going to have a seat at the table for the next mayor? Are they going to be a grassroots mayor? Or are they going to be kind of more top down?